As we talked about a little bit earlier, there are many different kinds of information available through Google on the web. As we see in this illustration, there are videos, there are images. We've looked at some of those before, but now I want to give you a little bit more of a tour of the different kinds of things. We've already talked about videos and images and web content, but there's also Google Scholar, which has a lot of scholarly information. There's ways to limit your searches to just blogs, just patents, even 3D objects. You already probably know about news, but did you know that there's a lot of financial information? Let me give you about a 2-minute tour of the different kinds and varieties of content that we have available through Google search. So if we do something obvious like cats here, you know about cats, and we've already looked at images. You can probably look at cat videos, and you get all sorts of interesting cat videos, many of which will be funny. You can also do news. We've talked about this. 2 more things I want to show you here. There's a tab here called More. Most of you have not explored this before. I encourage you to check it out, because under More, there's all kinds of other things. You can search on blogs with the topic of cats. You can search about discussions, which are now going to be discussions forums about cats, in this case about cats astrology. Who knew? You probably don't want to check cat recipes, but surprisingly enough, if you click on patents, you'll do what? You will search the corpus of patents in the US that have been issued that have the word cats somewhere in the body of it. Now this might surprise you, but there's a flourishing industry in patenting things for cats. So now, for example, we click on this first one, we can see that this patent was issued for cat houses or other small animals, and you can actually go through and see the original claim here. So one thing to remember here is that Google has a lot of different kinds of content, all of which is easily searchable. It's worth knowing that we only have information in English, but we have it for both the US patents, and now we have the EU patents in the system as well. So let's go back and do dogs now, just for contrast. Now I'm searching here patents. Remember, we've still got this thing selected here on the left-hand side. I want to introduce you to another place to find information, which is the More button in the top bar. If I click there, we can see Translate, so Google Translate, Google Mobile, Google Books, and all this information. Let's try Google Books just for contrast. Now we've done the Google search for dogs over the Google Books corpus. So you can see there's roughly 28 million results, all of which have adorable and interesting dogs, I'm sure. But what you can see here is there are many different kinds of things you can look for. Keep in mind that there are more things here than you might have thought about. And I can truthfully never remember how to find all of these things. So what I often do is I'll do Google as a search term like this, Google patents. And what this will do is take me to, in this case, I've been searching in books. I'm going to switch that to web, and it takes me, the first link is right to Google Patents. That's the way I get to Google Patents as quickly as possible. So if I can now do search for cats, and I can also use Google in combination with other terms, like say 3D models. Let's try Google 3D models. And you can see here, there's some patents here. If I do that, I can see using search as you type that we actually have an entire 3D warehouse. You might not have known that Google also indexes, for example, models, 3-dimensional models of Latin churches that you can download to your machine and use that way. Another kind of thing I want to point out here is that I can come back here, go back one page, and I'm going to search for Google Scholar. I spend a lot of time in Google Scholar and I want to give you a little bit of a sense for what that's like. Google Scholar is a really valuable repository for all kinds of scholarly information, much of which you may not care about, but stay tuned, there's something interesting here. So here's probably more scholarly information about cat diseases than you could possibly think about. But as you might have noticed over here on the left-hand side, we have this tab for legal documents. Google Scholar contains the scholarly literature and legal opinion in the US. So if I click there, all of a sudden I now have legal opinions that have been rendered in courts throughout the United States having to do with cats. Now, If you're not really interested in the cat issues, you might want to look at a more classic case like Roe v. Wade. And now, just by doing a simple reference to the case name, I can actually click through and read the results of the report, the opinion that was issued in that classic case. So it's worth knowing that legal search is only in English at this point. If you want to search the legal system from Google now, you have to switch your input language to English. It's of note that case law is of interest primarily in the British colonies, former British colonies. They inherited the British common law system, and there are a lot of precedents that go back and forth between the two systems, searchable in this way. Currently, only US legal opinions are included, but they're completely searchable through the legal aspect of Scholar. What I want to give you the sense here is that Google is really rich. We have many, many different kinds of content. Video, news, images, 3D models. It's really the entire world, not to mention things like Google Earth. So what you should be thinking about is how to explore all these different spaces that are possible. A trick I use is look for the content type, news, video, images, and attach the keyword Google to it as a way of jumping straight to it. Use that as a search in order to land access to that content space very, very quickly.